January 3rd, 2023. All right. Happy New Year. Welcome to Marketing Made Easy. My name is Joey Ragona, and it's so great to have you here for another year of Marketing Made Easy. This is so great to be sharing all of the wisdom, the knowledge, the mistakes, the experiences that we've had over all of our decades of business, and especially in the online world, the last 10 years of doing all these things. And thank for you being here and asking us the questions, getting involved in the conversations, and helping this show grow to what it has been up to now, and hopefully it'll grow even more. So welcome and thank you for being here. If you're here, by the way, live, let us know by hitting hashtag live and letting us know, or hashtag replay if you are watching the replay. And if you like what you're hearing, please give us a little thumbs up or a heart or smash the bell or a thing or whatever icon that is letting the world know, the algorithms and the AI know that we're doing an awesome job here talking about marketing. So good to see you. Hopefully you had an amazing, amazing holiday. I know I did, just shutting down, but also at the same time, the shutting down over the last 2 weeks has also been a little bit, I'm not going to use the word stressful, but it's boring to me. That's basically a better way of putting it, because it's like, I just love doing what I do. And it's, I am a recovering workaholic. So, but it's still, I just love to talk about business and marketing and all the things we talk about in this show. So not being in the regular routine rhythm kind of messes me up. I don't know. What about you? How did your holiday go? Let us know. Let us know in the chat. And what was the most, you know, fantastic thing that happened to you over the holidays? Let us know as I bring in my buddy Scott Vogel. There he is.
Hello,
How was
Joey.
your holiday?
Every time I awaken to life, it's a holiday. Uh, for me, it was just cool. And you mentioned a few things: wisdom, knowledge, and mistake. And I really like those three because I don't think you can acquire wisdom and knowledge unless you make a lot of mistakes in order to get there. And I know we talked about your glow uh, formula, your glow framework. Thank you. I was looking for the word template, glow framework. And I love the simplicity of it because wisdom, knowledge, and mistakes, the gratitude, the G, I'm grateful for the mistakes, if I want to even call them that. I don't necessarily think they're mistakes. And the lessons, my gosh, everything is a lesson. Don't necessarily know what the lesson is sometimes. Like we
Yeah.
can't connect forward, going back to Steve Jobs' Stanford commencement speech was brilliant. And then, what opportunities are there and what options do we have because of the lessons we've learned and then the wins. And I like the framework because it just keeps reminding me. And again, if you're watching live, hashtag live. If you're watching replay, hashtag replay. If you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, any of the Facebook groups, again, as Joey said. And of course, if you haven't yet joined the Heart Centered Marketing Club, where there's amazing people, and Joey's in there all the time. I'm in there quite a bit. The amazing tribe that's developed over the years of heart-centered people, entrepreneurs supporting one another on the journey. It's a great place to be. It's unlike any other group that you're going to be in. And in answer to your question, Joey, as you know, I've had my office in the yoga studio for going on almost 2.5 years. And I became friends with the owner. She sold the business to another friend who bought the business. And they took over January 1st. And Friday, I decided that I was going to, you heard me say, sever the psychic and spiritual umbilical cord. I got so into serving the studio and the community that I moved my office back to my living room, which is it's much better for me. And so that was a huge change because over the holidays is kind of when I started the transition back into with a whole new focus. My buddy Nick, he surprised me and surprised you. And he talks about IPAs and again, income producing activities and accountability and then there's kind of like anti-avatar, there's anti IPAs, what things, and even though I love doing what I was doing and lessons learned, and I'm grateful for everything, the studio, the community, at the end of the day, they were anti-IPAs. They went against income producing activities, but I did what I loved. And so for me, the holidays, the period of time right now was more about a transition, a huge transition for me back into what we do all the time is consulting and
Yeah.
helping people, growing people, our superpowers. Uh, Actually, Christmas Day, I did nothing. I just slept and relaxed and vegged. But
Nice.
that's just how I do the holidays. And thanks for asking. So I know that uh, we've got a few people here commenting, and I'll throw it back in your court. As of course, you put the link. I'm sure you have for the Heart Centered Marketing Club for those people that want to join us in
Yeah.
the group.
Yeah, thank you,
And
man. It's a great plug, as Meadow said, for the Heart Center Marketing Group. So I'd love to have you there if you are heart centered. If you have a mission to serve your corner of the world, that's what we're all about. And Meadow is definitely one of those people who is in the group. Amazing person, amazing human being who is changing the world on her own in her corner of the world. So um, yeah, it's these are the type of people that we hang around with. So thank you, Meadow, for being here and being a great support of us and just of the group and just bringing people in and doing what you do. So thank you for that. And thank you for watching this episode and all the other ones that we're talking about. How to really build the business on a heart-centered way. And you talk about transition today, was a big revelation and transitions for me and what I'm going through in the business, which is all great. It's not bad stuff, really great business. And all my focus this year is on the growth of the business, really the growth of the business, but more on simplifying even more in order to grow faster. And I think that's really like sometimes it's counterintuitive. It's like to simplify or reduce in order to grow more. And this is what I've learned over this last year is um reducing what I'm doing to simplify. As you know, we've talked about one audience, one dream client, one offer all the way till you get to $1 million, all those things. And then it's like, what are the activities, the income producing activities that are going to help me grow, but not add more to my life. And that's where my focus is this year. We actually started today's academy call with giving everybody an insight on fear, an insight on how to use fear to your advantage. Because I consider myself a master at this. This is where my whole life is built on, and turning my life around, or not really around, but just stepping out of the mundane of everyday business, same day, same crap stuff in 2007 and stepping right into fear and then learning and doing all the mindset stuff is something I became a master at. And I looked back at this year and or last year, I keep saying this year, last year, looking back at it and remembering how fearful I was at the beginning of that year to step into the next level of coaching, to pay, 5 times more the amount of money, all these things, and being totally, totally scared about all of it. And if you would have told me, or Giovanni would have told me, my coach, if he would have said, if you do this, you're going to be here in December of, I would have thought you're absolutely crazy. There was no vision whatsoever at all. And it was only because of of one thing, really, one thing that I want to share. This is totally separate of what we're going to talk about today, but I think I want to share this. It's one thing that I learned in 2012, and I'm going to give Evan Pagan credit for this. And we've talked about it before, but I want to share this. It's speed of implementation. And speed of implementation, it's not just speed of implementation. You have to understand what it means because it's about, this is my definition and how I've used it. It's like speed of implementation is you learn something and in the moment you implement the thing. You learn something and in the moment you go implement. And we had a discussion today again on the Academy call, and it was and there's two other things I want to share that will kind of bring this to context. Most of us, we've all been in this situation where we're not moving forward because of two reasons. We're either dragging around the past, the anger, the disappointment, the failures, the fear, whatever. We're dragging that around with us, or we're afraid of the future. We're worrying about the future, right? We're in one of those two zones most of the time. And what I've learned is to center in on like what's today. What is today about? The past, we cannot do anything about it except learn from it. And we can't worry about the future because it's not even here. Not even an hour from now. I don't know what's going to happen in an hour from now, right? But it's very hard to. And the challenge was, well, aren't you always in those zones? And you kind of are, but if you find yourself stuck in one of those two zones all the time, that's the challenge. That's the challenge of. So let me rephrase this. The speed of implementation was, well, you have to decide on what you're going to implement in order to move ahead. And I agree with that, except there's also this other level where I think I've mastered, which is this. You do have to kind of decide on what you're going to implement, but this is where I find, like, I've been coaching for 10 years now, right? So I've dealt with a lot of people and I see this pattern over and over and over again. And I'd be crazy if I didn't see this pattern. It's that, yes, you have to decide on what you have to implement, but that's where they get stuck. So they get stuck on the decision of what to implement, which means that they're, again, falling back into the other pattern of they're regretting the past. I should have done this before or whatever, or worrying about the future based on I got to decide on what to implement. And I'll stop there because I can go on and on about this. But any thoughts?
Those of you that have just joined us, we're not yet talking about what we're going to be talking about.
I had to go off on a tangent.
Joey needed to go off on his speed of implementation tangent and what it is. But again, Joey, I was on a conversation with a prospective client, and we were talking about courses and that. And I was like, how many courses have you bought that you've done absolutely nothing with? And he goes, quite a few of them. I said, it's about implementation and the speed of implementation. For when you go through Atlas or you go through WMC or anything here, you just go in. I know that on one of the calls that we were talking about a couple of the frameworks that we were going through, and it was about Dream Client, go figure. And I think it was Kay who just went in immediately into Instagram and used it,
Yeah,
and put it out there and got immediate results. And you're right. People are too afraid of, for those that are just joining us, Joey was talking about they're afraid of what the future might bring and how they might fail. And then they're afraid of maybe repeating the mistakes of the past instead of living at this moment with the infinite opportunities of abundance that's available to all of us if we just live in the moment. So take it, and let's episode 153, talk about consistency and speed of implementation. I was on a consulting call today, and everything was so simplified to forget about trying to teach people how to lose weight and exercise and get more energy. What's their biggest problem? One thing. And it turns out it was people can go on diets, they can exercise, they can, do things, but they can't figure out consistency. So we just simplified everything. And it's like the message is, how are you consistent?
yeah.
And that was it. And so they were then able to go, oh my God, this is so easy. We can implement this. And we looked at an email, simple, to a video, simple, simple, simple implementation, rather than let's build this whole complex thing, which is what they used to do. It was like, oh, we can write about this and we can do this and that. And that is like one thing, one focus. That's it. Everybody goes to that one place. And that's where speed of implementation comes in. And would you like to introduce this evening's topic before we get to the top of the hour?
I will, because I mean, we're on this other topic. There's a couple things I want to add to this because it's so important. But I want to give a shout out to Teen. Hey, good to see you. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to everybody if you're joining us right now. Lorna's here. Petra's here. Thank you. Adrian is here. Thank you for being here. It's great to have you live with us. And so the speed of implementation is like, the other side of the story is like, you see, this is where you hear a lot about, like, we did this and this happened and I grew my Instagram followers to 100 million because I did this, and that's all great. However, there's a lot more failures, if I should use that word, or things that don't work out when you do speed of implementation. And that's where, again, it's a whole other topic of how this is a great thing for you. But that's where speed of implementation has helped me, because you could someone could look at it and say, well, I'm doing that, like I'm learning this thing, I go and do it and it didn't work. And you just said consistency, so I did it again and they did it again, and over the last month that's all I've been doing and I've gotten nowhere. And that is a closed mindset. And I'm not blaming anybody, because that's where Joey was like in 2006. And then 2007 was, no, I'm not going to do this anymore. So there is, in the consistency of things not working out, okay, it sucks, but you're still, that the speed of implementation matters, because if you did it and you go, well, that didn't work, then take that as a win. It's like, this is amazing. Like, I just found out what doesn't work, and then keep going. It's hard, because if you're looking for the immediate win, you're going to cop out real quick. And this is where I had to learn, no, continue to do this. Go to the event, write down the books. You see them all, maybe not in this shot, but you see them all behind me, you know, and instead of writing it down and going home, I'm actually going to take page one and start implementing that and see, does this work? Um, Scott says, are you in a new office? There's not a splash of blue. She must have missed your transition
She
into.
missed it. I typed back that I moved into my office back to my house. The yoga studio was sold. I decided to let the new owners have it to run and transition to a different daily plan. Starting on Monday, it's going to be, I did this months ago when I spent 3 months doing Atlas. What if I had 3 months to live? What would I do? I'm about to do the same thing. Is what if I had 3 months? How am I going to plan out my days and live in the 4% multiplier and look at where I'm going to do what I'm going to do and focus solely on serving and building tribe, serving, and on their time. And that's was a huge transition for me, from being spiritually connected to that, to making a decision that I'll go back to what you shared with me about Wonder Woman,
Oh,
and the
yeah.
belief in that, what if we just went out and did it and didn't worry about the fear? You
Mhm.
talked about past and what could potentially happen. And I was like, I Friday I actually made the decision to move my office 2 days later. And I just did it, done, and rebuilt the office in the house so that uh, I'll just go to yoga. And
Yeah.
that has to do with what we're talking about. Talk about speed of implementation. It was like boom, break it down, rebuild the office, and boom, I'm up and running. And now again, for me, it's accountability and productivity
Hmm.
starting
And
Monday.
consistency.
Yeah, same thing that we're talking about, same thing that we teach, and simplicity, not getting crazy into doing all kinds of things.
I don't know who this is. I don't know if you can see that on your side, Scott, but I appreciate
Well, let me see. Go on. Uh,
that, whoever this is. Thank you for that.
that is Steve Gillis.
Ah, Steve. Okay, Steve, my man. Yeah, thank you for that. Uh, I love talking to Steve. It was a great conversation. I agree. I learned so much from you. Thank you for having that conversation with me and the yoga
Joey,
studio.
that's me again.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Hey,
isn't it
Natasha. Good to see you.
isn't it amazing when we get to do whatever you want to call it, a discovery call, a clarity call, whatever it is, to be able to actually do what we do, use our superpowers, our zone of genius, and help people,
Yeah.
and really give them a transformation. And welcome Steve. Having a you know, Joey and I have discovery calls like all the time. It's crazy. I'll call and say, "Hey, what's going on?" And then 2 hours later, we've gone all over the place and talked about, do you remember this show? And what we do in this show and this show and this, and we did here and this and WMC and Atlas and this and Academy. And it's incredible when you get to uh, spiral up. I love that analogy, and actually, uh, I'll give Autumn credit for that. Autumn was a yogi friend, and she came up with that, and I really like it. When we get together with our dream clients, our dream peers, our dream buddies, and going back to the beginning of the call, we talked about that this tribe, our dream clients, dream people, And when we started this, gosh, 3.5 years ago, when
Mm.
when you invited me to help in the group, and we just started playing with all this stuff, we've talked about, it was just you and me
That
talking
was
to
speed
each
of
other.
implementation right there, Scott. Is like, you want to do this? Yeah, let's do it. Okay, tomorrow we
That
start.
was it.
Great. Like, there's no plan.
It wasn't like, yeah, let's start in the new year. It was like, let's do it, and we keep doing it. So speed of implementation and consistency. Talk about that.
Yeah,
I mean, our tribe knows that no matter what, Tuesday at seven
yeah,
o'clock, tune in, dinner with the boys. And it just has been, there's so many things that we don't even know. We can't connect the dots forward on what this is going to do.
yeah.
And I read what Lorna said here is, I've had speed of implementation work well for me and have had a recent realization. I have something to learn from past times. I've quit when I shouldn't have, and when I was blind to what I should have quit sooner.
Yeah,
It,
that's
it got,
brilliant. That's where we, when we look at the past, that those are the lessons we've learned, and I call it life tuition. I think that the stuff that hasn't worked for us is supposed to happen. It's written among the universe for us to do that. Whatever it is, and whatever you want to
yeah,
believe, that the in order for you to get where you need to go, there's lessons you have to go through. And however long it takes you is however long it takes you. And the more you resist moving into fear or the unknown or all that resistance, the longer it's going to take you to get to where you want to be. So it's not that you never look at the past and you never think about it and say, "Oh, I should have done that." That's okay, but I'm talking about the people that are stuck in there, and there's a lot of people
yeah.
that are like that.
Again, Joey, I ran the yoga studio for 16 months, and people were like, "Are you getting paid?" I was like, "No, I love it. I want to serve my friend, the studio, in the community." People were like, "You're crazy." I was like, "Yeah, I know I am. I admit it, and I loved it, and I learned how to run a yoga studio and a different piece of a business. Is it something I'm going to use today? No. Will I use it 6 months, a year, 2 years? Probably." And if someone was like, if you were to go back and do it all over again, would you do it all over again? And I was like, exactly. I would go back and do it all over again. And the same thing. Everybody here knows that 2.5 years ago, I went and jumped in and became partners in a software company. We built 6 pieces of software, launched it, launched over 100 products, and I ended up. It worked, but it didn't really work. And I ended up going in debt because of it and walked away. Now, it cost me a lot of money, but at the end of the day, what I learned to do and how I learned to do it, that's developed the whole structure and foundation for my zone of genius and my superpowers that have added to it, to be able to get on a call with someone and pretty much outline their whole sequence and their whole experience and the whole path and the journey for their dream client and simplify it for them. I could not have gotten that good at it if I didn't go through that. Did it hurt me financially? Yeah. Can I make money? Yeah. So again, it's learning in that. And Steve, I have a question for you. Is you had a 20-minute discovery call with Joey and it turned into an hour. I'd like, I would like to know what you got from that hour call. What's the biggest takeaway that you got from being on a call with Joey? I'm always curious to learn what people get from Joey because there's such a wealth of, and one day we'll have to figure out how to do a Vulcan mind meld. Do we take all of Joey's knowledge and maybe suck it and plug into Notion right into his brain?
You're too kind, man. I think I gotta give credit to people who I talk with, or even especially on the clarity calls. But in any time that someone allows me to step into my zone of genius, which I'm finding more and more that people are telling me that it is being able to challenge people in a loving way. And we talked about this today in Academy as well. Gio was talking about this to me, and I was really grateful to hear that. And I got to give credit to him because, I've always been this person who loves to challenge people to push them forward because I just, if I could wave a magic wand, yeah, I would just like everybody to have the same as everybody kind of thing, just I've got this and let you have that too. Like it's just a fantasy of mine, but that's what I would like. And that's why I step into being there, you have to fire me before I'll fire you. You know what I mean? Like I'm not going to let you go. And so I give credit. Like Steve is one of them, and he'll tell you if he'll say, I said to him like, uh, hopefully I can be candid with you. Hopefully you'll allow me to tell you things that you may or may not want to hear. And he was so cool with it. And that's where I am so grateful and honored to speak to everybody that I speak to allow me to do that. Or else, because if I couldn't do it, then I would be where that I would be somebody that I never wanted to be when I first um saw coaching, right? From the back end, from the green room. And I've said this before, where people are not the same as they are on stage as they are in the back room. And I vowed at that point, I will never be that way. Like when you see me in the green room behind stage, I'll be exactly the same when I get on stage, and I'll say the exact same things and will be the same person. And so, but you also have to have the reception of that, the audience to be able to take all that. Not everybody's going to like it, but the people that I have been in my world now, in Academy and Atlas, and even just on calls that are just, let's just chat. I thank you for that. If you've had one call with me, I want to thank you. And Steve, because you're here, thank you for that.
And Joey, I had a call, whatever. I don't call them discovery or clarity calls. I just call, let's get on a Zoom and chat. And I had a call, two calls, split them apart because I went to yoga on Friday with a gentleman. It's the same thing. It's like, I'm going to be brutally honest with you. I'm going to tell you what I see. And you'll love this. At the end, I was like, so would you like help with that? Basically from, Atlas, from Messenger, that, would you like help with that?
Yeah.
That was the whole thing. And rather than, there wasn't anything trying to sell anything. Would you like help with that? Would you like me to put something together for you? Yeah. Okay, good.
Right.
After going and asking it and going deep into the process that we go in. And I was like, I'm going to be brutally honest with you here from what I'm seeing, blah, 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 XYZ. Steve says, focus on the people you want to work with, AKA dream clients, avoid the tire kickers, AKA anti-dream clients. And that, Steve, is, you're so lucky and fortunate and blessed to have met Joey, because when you really figure that out, it changes your life forever, which I'm sure it has. And he continues with, my focus now is working with coaches who are tired of trading time for money and want to create courses instead of throwing spaghetti against the wall and hoping to attract everyone. He's on his way to a really good dream client statement there, Joey.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's great. He's got it pretty much. I'm sure we both challenge him
I love
on
it.
what kind of coaches, and more specific in a niche in his dream client. But he's getting there real fast, and that's what Atlas is all about. Is,
It is.
you
Yeah.
know, one of the things I wrote, being fortunately a certified Atlas method, being certified in the Atlas methodology, is to be able to say, I'm going to help you with these pieces of it, be able to talk about the importance of dream client chain of beliefs and all of that. And when somebody wants to build a funnel, I'll be like, I'll help you with the experience, the journey, and the path. We can call it a funnel, but at the end of the day, it's not to sell a high-end course that you've already built. It's to go sell a group cohort. So
Yeah.
it's massaging a little. And
John
John,
says not everyone has to like it. You're absolutely right. This is what anti-avatars are all about.
yeah,
It's like, if you focus in on the mighty few as opposed to the massive audience, um life is so much easier. This is what I found. I've been in business for so long, and in this world over a decade already, in the online world, and it's only been in the last 3 years that it has totally, like, hockey stick for me. And it's only because I did everything different. Right, that was the first thing. And then the other one was go against what most people say of, let me grab an entire funnel and millions of people and whittle them down to the people who go through and end up down at the bottom of the funnel. Those are the clients or the leads, and that end up into clients. And to me, that's not the way to do it. It's so much easier to pick who you want to work with first, go out into the world, talk to those people, not in a marketing way, but in a helpful way, and they will automatically understand how you can help them. This is what I've proven to myself, and I've proven it to countless people in Atlas now. So you're absolutely right, John. Is not everyone has to like it, and it's even better that you go into the world, not you, but just generally speaking to everybody, is you go into the world and your job is to repel most of the people. You don't want everybody to agree with it. You want only the people looking for the exact thing that you're talking about.
Well, Joey, adding to that, yeah, we have to repel more people than we attract because there's 7 billion people on the planet. We certainly can't serve 7 billion people. So let's repel as many of them as we can and keep a tiny little percentage of it because, again, I was having a conversation. It's like, who's your dream client? We've got to figure out who that is because right now he's got $1,000 program and nobody's buying it. So what does he do? He discounts it and he throws this and that
Yeah.
instead of, well, what if we found the person who can afford to buy your program
What if
and
you raised
hire
it?
you?
What if you tripled the price and now you go after dream clients?
Exactly. And that's what it's going to be. And Steve here says it's taken many years of throwing spaghetti against the wall to finally see the light after talking to Joey.
Thank you, Steve.
It took me a couple of years of hanging out with Joey every week before I finally was like, okay, I'm going to be finished with being a multiplier and move into a simplifier.
Thank you all. This is
Even
amazing.
though
Thank you, John.
sometimes I into it.
I really, you know what?
How we doing with our
Let's
topic?
try to get into the actual topic of today of the 7 success laws. And this is a great conversation. I don't want to end it. It's so great, but I do want to try to get into what we promised here. So I will go
I
through.
didn't know we ever promised anything.
I've pulled some old slides that again I've been teaching this stuff for over a decade, and I was talking about the beginning of this that mindset mastery is probably another superpower that I don't talk about a lot, but it has helped me, and I think that it's an underlying thing of everything that I do, that all the mindset and all the pushing of through fear and all this. So this is part of just an old presentation, and hopefully this will be of value to you as we go through this. So success laws, there's 7 success laws. And I think, I can't remember who this is from. It's either from like Brian Tracy or it's like, I can't remember who to give credit to, but these aren't mine. But I take information and I implement it. I just run with it. So the very first law is the law of belief. And it's whatever you believe with feeling becomes your reality. And um as you're reading these and maybe even taking notes, really listen to your heart and what's being said here, because if you've heard me before, I believe that belief is the underlying number one success secret principle, whatever you want to call it. If you don't believe in yourself, in your product, in anything around you, nothing, no tactic in the world is going to help you. And I know this for a fact because I've gone through it. And I know this because, again, all of the people that I've spoken to and coached over the years have come into my world, have said certain things, and I've challenged them on things and said, hey, where do you want to be? What are you going to do when this happens? And they all say things. And then when the stuff hits the fan, that's when their true belief of what they truly believe, their true character comes to life. And I'll give credit to Bill Phillips. That's basically, I'm ripping apart that quote, but I've seen this happen over and over and over again where people talk about something, but that their true belief of what they're talking about comes true only when they're faced with the true adversity. So that's very important to understand. So whatever you believe with feeling becomes your reality, and you see what you believe. So whatever, nobody can tell you what you believe. Like if you believe something, that's it's in your reality. It's in your head. This is why beliefs are very difficult to change, and that's why Scott just alluded to it a little while ago. the chain of beliefs. We talk about chain of beliefs in Atlas and why they're so important to understand what someone's belief. This is you're attaching this to marketing now, but understanding what is someone's belief and understanding their true beliefs in order to help them understand or be open to a new belief, not manipulation, not persuasion, not NLP kind of stuff, but actually talking to their belief and opening a pathway for them to see something different. The biggest mental the roadblocks are the self-limiting beliefs. Okay, that's law of belief. The law of expectations is the second law. This is where successful people, they have an attitude. Successful people have one attitude, and that's a confident one. They expect to be successful. They expect to be liked. And this was a hard one for me to get over into myself is um, I'm going to be successful at this. And self-talk is a huge thing. And I'm heavily into self-talk now. I'm in the past year. And now even going into 2023, I'm like diving in even 110% even more into self-talk more and more every single day. And it's not, and we can have a whole other discussion on this too, Scott. Or even if you guys want, maybe let me know in the chat if it's if interest to you. There's a difference between like self-talk and um, affirmations. There's a huge difference between the two. And so once I learned all this, it was like, okay, well, how do you talk to yourself? And not only talk to yourself like, "Hey, yeah, I'm going to be successful today or whatever, uh, and other ways that you're talking to yourself, but recognizing that most of your talk is like negative, and sometimes you're not even hearing it, and you have to be more aware of it. So we can get into a discussion on that at a later date because that's a whole other amazing topic. Any thoughts on these first two laws, Scott?
Well, as you said, whatever you believe with feelings becomes your reality. That reminds me years ago in the speaking world, I heard and put some things together that basically was if the mind can conceive it and the heart can believe it, then you can achieve it. And it's kind of what we're talking about here is putting these two together. If our mindset is one of success and confidence and that attitude, then the heart is going to take the lead from the mind and it's going to believe it. And then it becomes easier to achieve when that negative self talk is pushed out of the equation.
Exactly. I'm just writing down the note that good some interest here in the discussing the difference between self-talk and affirmations. So I wanted to make a note of it before I
Self
forgot.
talk, self talk, affirmations, mantras. So there's kind of, because actually it's interesting. I was having that conversation yesterday of the difference between the three and what was what, because there was some listed and what's self-talk, what's an affirmation. There was a couple of other terms that we used, but that definitely
Do
going
you
to be
have a quick explanation of the differences?
oh gosh, give me 1 second. You keep doing it. Let me see if I've
Oh, I
got
just
it
thought because
because
it was you were talking about it yesterday that you had maybe something to share. That's okay.
no.
Let's go on with this then. So then the next law is the law of attraction. And you've heard this one like a billion times, but let me break this down hopefully from a different perspective. Everything that you've already attracted, everything in your life right now, you've already attracted because of who you are, your attitude, and especially your thoughts. And we think of the law of attraction of I don't want these things anymore, or I don't like my life the way this is, and I want to, have a Lamborghini tomorrow in my in my driveway. I'm just making fun of it, but it's if you don't change the way that you talk to yourself every day, then nothing's going to change. It doesn't matter to go out into the world. That's why affirmations is that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of affirmational stuff that doesn't work because there's the other part of the self-talk that goes on every single day that's so subtle that is counteracting what any affirmation you're saying, getting up and touching your head and say, I am a millionaire and I am successful. Like that's great. But if 95% of your day is, how's everything going? Same day, same crap. Like that's you're talking to yourself. Like you're saying this, it's the same crap every single day. So be aware of that. And keep your thoughts on what you want. Just discipline yourself to keep thoughts away from what you don't want. This was a big one for me. I don't want, I don't know, whatever. I don't want to to be late anymore for appointments. I don't want to be late for the appointments. Well, it doesn't, your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference. It doesn't know the word don't. So if you're saying, I don't want to miss appointments or be late for appointments, it's saying you want to be late for appointments. So it's how you turn that self-talk around. It's like how what's the opposite of that? I want to be on time for appointments, right? Or I am on time for appointments. These kind of things.
I'm good. Keep going.
Okay,
We're on
good.
number three.
Just wanted to break just in case you had some input there.
Yeah, no, I'm good here. It's pretty self-apparent, the whole attraction piece, and yeah, self-talk. I was going to jump in there, but you said it is. I am on time. I'm 10 minutes early.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, so
Okay. So
what's
then
number four?
the number is this number four? I'm not even counting.
It is.
So the law of correspondence. The law of correspondence is one of the most important ones. This is where your outer world is a reflection of your inner world. This is groundbreaking for me, or was groundbreaking for me. It's earth shattering because I can see it. Like I remember that I hired my very first coach for one reason, and it was to organize my desk. Okay, my desk was a mess and still is a mess. Sometimes it's neat, sometimes it's not. But I can feel that when my space is all messy, so is everything going on around me. Same as my inner world. If my inner world is all messy and it's dealing with all these things, inputs of news and all these other things, it's all messed up, then so is my business. So is and that's where all the dream client and all these things came to fruition for me by and funnels and I still kind of, it's cool whiteboarding all this stuff and looking at how much magic I can create with all the joining lines and go look at me. But then it was like, holy mackerel, that is like really really complex. And that never worked for me. It was great to wear the whatever badge of honor to say that I designed this thing, but it never worked. It was all confusing. Thoughts on that?
Well, I love this piece here, that especially where you went to. I think I hired my first speaking coach when I was like in my early 20s. And she was a business coach, 1LT, business coach to the speaking industry. Because I kept going to people and saying, how do you do this thing called speaking? And like I asked four different people, they're like, you got to see 1LT. And I think I paid her $15,000, Joey. And that was like a long time ago.
Yeah, it's a lot of
And
money.
then I hired Summers White for 10 grand, and I hired, Max Dixon for this many, and Jim Maddox, and I just kept hiring people and paying them money. And my outer world was constantly marketing coaches, speaking coaches, business coaches that I was absorbing all of their information, plus all of the marketing experts that we played with. Again, the Kennedys and the Halperts and the Schwartzes, and the list goes on. The Sanders, and we bought all their products and listened to them, and Brendan, and this formula and this product, and just absorbing all that, not the outer world, as far as the education and the actualization of life. And for me, add in the whole you know, outer world and what I do and how I am, it definitely affects the inner world and all of what we've just been talking about.
Yeah, it's one of the things you brought up there. I'm going to come back to your comment there, Lauren, in a second. One thing you mentioned, this triggered a thought for me, was that you were saying that you'd hire all these people, and what triggered for me was going back to this quote or this law, was when I, again, recognizing patterns in people. Okay, and people would tell me their history of like what has happened to them, this business or that thing or this career or whatever, and the same thing would happen to them. Like, let's just say they tried it and it didn't work. Like, just the simplicity of it, right? and and I would ask them the story and they would tell me the story, but it would always end up the same thing. I tried this other different thing and I did this. And I said to them, what's the common denominator in all of these stories? And the common denominator is them. I said, it's you. And it doesn't matter if you move to a different country to start a new career. If you don't change your inner world, your outer world is going to be the same exactly as it was when you were in the States or in Canada or whatever, or whatever. This new business, you were a coach and now you are doing this other thing. And because you haven't changed your inner world, everything's going to be the same sooner or later. So that's where this piece, this law of correspondence, um, really identifies where a lot of, maybe if you're watching this, where some of the challenges are. And I'll come back and I'm going to hit Lorna's conversation here, or her comment, which is, yeah, I've heard the same thing, like 60 to 80,000 thoughts. I can't remember the exact number, but it's a lot of thoughts a day. And you're absolutely right. About 80% of them are negative. And the scary part about this, Lorna, is that I don't know the percentage, but I know it's very high. Of the 80% that's negative, most of those we're unaware of them. They're subconscious. We don't even hear them. And that's the scary part. That's the scary part. So we have to be more aware of what we're doing and what we're saying and how we're reacting to things. And try to tap into the subconscious a little bit more to see what are we actually saying to ourselves. And once I realized that, that's why in the last year, and especially this year now, is diving into more of what am I telling my subconscious. So I've gotten into the habit of actually going to sleep by giving my subconscious a task, right? Is like, it's basically a how-to task. How do I do this, rather than a negative thought of, well, I don't know, that sucked, it didn't really work, it'd be whatever it is. But it's better to give your subconscious a question on, how do I do this, rather than that sucked. I'd like to do something different. If that makes any sense.
Joey,
Uh,
just I
Go ahead.
it's you know uh, speed of implementation, law of correspondence. You can, of course, see here my modification of Joey Ragona's superpower matrix, and even in redoing the office, now there's two full ones of it because I keep adding more. And I just added something to it because there was something that came up in this conversation. There was like 15 things that weren't on my superpower matrix. That is just going back to what we talked about earlier on, is what are the experiences we've had that have made us who we are today.
Right.
So go on.
Yeah, and thank you for that, Scott. I'm so glad that you actually step into what you actually talk about too, because there's so many people who talk about or teach stuff and they never really do it themselves. So thank you for that. Lorna says, one thing that helped me pay more attention thing and negative thoughts is to set an intention that a stop sign would pop in my mind whenever I had a negative thought. Yeah. Then I choose a better feeling thought. That's amazing. Whatever works for you, it's to be aware of those negative thoughts. One of the things, and that's exactly kind of the same thing, Lorna. I don't have that stop sign, but it's reframing that thought, like in the moment. So if you have a negative thought, it's reframe it into a positive one. Or if it's a challenging thing, I can't even come up with an example. Whatever. Like, let's use the time. Like, I was late again. I'm never on time for these meetings. I'm always on time for these meetings. Like right away, change it. So you're giving yourself crap for saying, "Oh, here I go again. I'm late again," and then you say, "I'm never late. I'm always on time."
So, Joey, what I've learned and what I've done very successfully over the years is I push stop on the recorder and I
Yeah.
push play with the new tape, and I just create a new tape, a new script. If I'm like, holy crap, I don't really feel great today, and gosh, it's like, wait a second, stop. I feel amazing. I have all this opportunity today, infinite opportunities that I don't even know exist yet. What an amazing opportunity I have to live today. And that's just something I've created to push stop and play. And the more you do that, the easier it is to change it, because Stop is great, but then you start thinking again. It has to be stop, play with whatever the new tape
Yeah.
is until the old just doesn't even come to play anymore because it's instant.
Yeah, and I'll give you an example. You just made something came to mind for myself of what a negative thought or stuff that I talk about all the time, and you've heard it a billion times on this show. I say, I suck at math. I'm not great at math. I'm not great at
Yeah,
math, right? So
yeah.
I'm aware of it now, and instead of saying that, I might not be great at math at the point, but instead of saying that, and I'll probably mess it up, but I'm trying to get better at that by saying, um, I'm getting better at doing math. Like, so you know what I mean? Even if I'm struggling with it and we're having a conversation, I'm saying, okay, um, math, I'm trying to get better at doing this. That's still saying I'm not the best at math, but I'm giving my brain you're getting better at this. You're doing things right. So it's just, again, I've been saying this for years and years and years, and sure enough, here I am 10 years later, and I'm not good at math because I've been telling myself the same thing. I'm not going to be a mathematician, but at the same time, these are the things that I'm talking about.
Joey, I'm going to jump in here and I want to honor you in what you just did in episode 153, 51 minutes into the show, that you pretty much became totally vulnerable in not being perfect and giving an example in your life and not taking it too well. Like you said, I'm trying to get better at math. You didn't be like, well, I've got it perfect now and I am better at math and I am a mathematician, and you haven't taken it all there and your humanness in it. And yeah, I've heard you say that many times because to me, I learned as a child from my dad how to do math in the air and numbers in the air. And my mother was an editor, so I did words in the air. So to me, math and words and language was always a game and fun. To be able to add a column of numbers faster than somebody could on a calculator. And so when we're doing something with math, you'll be like, okay, this is, I'll be like, yeah, it's $8,200. And you'll be like, I suck at math. And I just want to honor you that you're not ever, neither one of us are here saying, hey, we're perfect. We know everything. And we're this. No, we screwed up. Going back to what you open with is wisdom, knowledge, and mistakes.
Yeah, thank you, Scott. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, and you said I was going to rephrase it, but you actually said what I always say, which is I suck at math. And then, like,
Right.
that's I'm constantly saying that, and that's not the greatest thing. But here's an to to the other point, and this will help everyone, is that I talked about my ADD a lot, right? And some people look at ADD as a problem, right? And so did I back then. It's like, holy crap, this thing. But you hear me say this a lot too. Like, oh, hang on, my ADD moment. Hang on, ADD's kicking in, right? But I'm phrasing it as a superpower, which it is to me. I truly believe that. Just a couple of laws ago, what truly believe is what I believe, right? So when I say it like, hang on, ADD moment, and whatever comes from it is, to me, brilliance, because I'm getting things that I'm being able to do what I do best because of my ADD, not because it's a detriment or a downside to me. And so there's two examples of how I believe about something that could be a negative, both in the math, which I've used as a negative, and ADD, which I've used as a positive, has actually improved my life. And actually, I believe, has given me the opportunities in the coaching that I do, just by
Joey,
believing the ADD is a power.
in the Joey Ragona superpower matrix, if you could see on the top here under my unique gifts, it's ADD.
Hmm.
I'm in a total agreement with you to be able to be on a call with 10 people and be able to focus on all 10 of them and hear what's going on and be able to process it and give them each unique strategies based on what they're talking about and be like, da, 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 da. That's an amazing gift of ADD
Yeah, for sure.
to me.
Steve, I think this
Okay,
is Steve,
you're on
right?
number. What's that?
I think this is Steve.
I had a stroke in 2008 caused by stress. Steve, one thing that helped me to stop the negativity is to recognize the thoughts, tell them to be quiet, and that I'll let my brain vent for 10 minutes later in the day. It worked wonders. Excellent, Steve. Brilliant. Yeah, just so many different ways and strategies. And thank you for sharing that. It's good that you're here with us and in the tribe and part of this whole journey of coolness.
Do you recall Scott and anybody who's been with us for a little while? Do you recall uh the my little my little guy that sits on this shoulder, my negative guy? Do you remember his name?
Oh boy. No,
Okay, anybody in the chat, some of them I think that are here may know,
not
but
doubting Dan.
to
Not
Steve's,
doubting Dan, is it? No.
yeah, it is, yeah. So
Doubting Dan. Okay.
so
So
to
ding, ding, ding. I think that's like 7,000 points I have. And so I just want to keep for those playing at the home game,
yeah,
keeping
doubting
track.
down. You see, look at them all. Look at how they're coming through. Like this is how much I talk about this dude.
Yeah.
It's doubting down. So Steve, to your point, I visualize my self talk, the negative, the voice that we all have in our brains, that he's actually a doubting Dan. He's sitting on my shoulder, and sometimes he's bigger than other times, but he has a volume knob on him, and I'm able to, when he's loud, I just go to the volume knob and I turn it down. I go, Dan, not the time, man, and we turn him down, because we're never going to be able to get away from the talk, the self talk or the negative talk. It's always going to be there, but it's how loud you allow that talk to go. So that's a brilliant. Thanks for bringing that up, Steve. And John, so fulfillment comes from the work we do in our inner world. Definitely, achievements are a reflection of our inner work in the outer world. Definitely, definitely, because everything that has been created has been created in the inner world first, in someone's brain first, right? So if we want to create a better world for ourselves, create it inside first.
Everything that exists was an idea first.
Right. And I love
And
this reference too. Every day I'm getting better and better. Who's that? Is it SNL? Who did that one? John, help
every
help us
day,
out.
every way, I'm getting better and better.
Yeah. Every day
Mm,
in every way I'm getting better and better. Who did that? John, help us out.
I think that could be from, that sounds familiar from like a 12-step kind of program thing.
Yeah, see, it's Stuart Smalley. I knew it. It's
Okay.
SNL. It's SNL. Yeah. There you go. Stuart Smalley. Isn't that the one where he goes, I'm good, or and everybody likes me, or something like that? Uh, now we're going into the SNL stuff. Um, we're going to get back to the law of correspondence, a couple more laws, but I just want to look at these comments for 1 second. Collie, thoughts become things, and she really goes into like deep stuff here. I love it.
Oh,
And
yeah, she does.
we thoughts become things, and we really do create our reality. And there is a but that sometimes we carry unconscious hidden loyalties, which means unless we uncover them and cannot necessarily do it by ourselves because the hidden, yes, hidden loyalties mean we're so loyal to others in our family, ancestors. We sometimes will not surpass their accomplishments because we feel we are betraying them. This is, of course, I've never heard that before. I'm not disagreeing with you, but that's an interesting thought, that I'd be betraying my ancestors because of their. Have you heard that before, Scott?
I have not heard it put this way. I've heard the concept of it, the hidden loyalties, and there's loyalties to our family of origin, our ancestry,
Okay.
our heritage, which needs to change to now our family of life.
Nice.
So,
Okay.
but I always love the way Kali puts things. So
Thank you for that,
magical and
Collie.
colorful. Yeah.
Yeah, this is the one. I am beautiful, I'm lovable, and gosh darn it, everybody loves me. Brilliant. I love it.
For those of us who watch TV. Um,
um, Systemic trauma in family constellations. Yeah, it's a totally new concept to me. But thank you for sharing that. Okay, so the law of correspondence. Let's get back into this law of correspondence. The second part of this is that you can tell what's going on inside you by looking at what is going on around you. Pretty simple. That's why I love these simplistic laws. Is if you're, I'll just use myself as an example. If I feel frustrated or disorganized, and I look around me and my desk is, well, there you go. Like everything around me is disorganized. That's why my work is disorganized. That's why my day is disorganized or my brain is disorganized. Same, and the way that people respond and react to you reflect attitude and your behavior toward them. The way people respond and react to you reflect attitude and your behavior toward them. The law of mental equivalency. Your repeated thoughts and vivid imagination, charged emotion become your reality. This is why we talk a lot about, not we, but in general, you've heard of um, making a picture in your brain to work toward. Cameron Harold, who's the master at vivid vision. If you haven't gotten that book, I highly recommend it. Um, Vivid Vision, and even Jennifer Hootie, they're friends in my world. They're doing an actual retreat for creating vivid visions, and there's so much around this world in terms of success of people actually sitting down and writing out what their future looks like. You know, their 3-year future, like, and actually describing what it feels like, describing what their world looks like, who they're with, what they're wearing, these kind of things. And it's beyond vision boards. It's not vision boards. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's beyond that. And I think that even in the be your future self now, doesn't Ben talk about that too? So
Yeah,
it's, who do you need to become today in order to be the person that you want to be? And if you want to be a person in the future, whether that's a month from now, whether it's the end of 2023, then who do you have to become today, not then? Because your future self already knows what to do. And so what do you need to do right now to become that future? And vivid imagination is part of it. Everything you have in your life right now has been created by your thinking, for better or for worse. This is a big one. This is a big one because I recall, again, by coaching people in the last decade about where they want to go, and they, again, we're stuck in those two zones of, I'm not happy about where I am because of the thing that I didn't do or did do, right? So they're stuck in the anger of the past or regret or disappointment. And then they're worried about the future, but the present moment was even worse. The present moment was like, I'm not even happy. But here's another part to this. And this is where, when I talk about when I fired some of my clients, right? In one particular client, I remember this was back when I was learning how to coach and who to coach and who my dream clients were. And this person was like that. It was more of, we'd hit goals and they were never satisfied with the goal that they set. And again, it would happen again and again and again. So it was a pattern. It wasn't like once or twice. Once or twice, like, okay, whatever, right? But then it's a pattern. And that means it's a mindset issue. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking right now, well, life sucked. Like, this is not where I wanted to be, or I haven't done enough. Okay, I haven't done enough. I promise you that there was a part of your life previous that you wanted to be where you are, in terms of, let's just say, making money. Like, you're making a certain amount of money and you're making that money, but then you you get there, let's say it's 100,000, you get there and you're like, well, but I'm not making 250, I'm not making 500 like these other guys, or I'm not making a million. And we ignore the present because we're worried about the future. Well, how am I going to make $1 million? Or why didn't I do that sooner, or whatever, right? And we ignore the present moment, which is going back to this thing here, which is, everything you have in your life is because of what you thought. And this is a good thing. So why not celebrate that? Any thoughts?
no, I'm just eh, I totally agree with vivid imagination. That's part of my mornings in my zone of genius, and mantras and prayer and meditation is vivid imagination of what exactly does it look like. And you talked about future self and present self, and you know that a few months back when I enrolled in Atlas, it was a, what am I going to do for future Scott? Who said to present Scott? And there was this whole meeting about what needed to happen in that 90 days in order to meet future Scott where he needed me to be. And that takes courage to do that because it's challenging to look at yourself and say, okay, and I'm going to do it again. And you're right, everything has been created by your thinking.
Yeah.
We create it. We just do that. That's a reality.
Yeah, and a lot of us don't think that. We always think that it's the outside world that's creating our reality when it's really not. This is a great question from Natasha. Can you expand on the way people respond and react toward you is because of how you act toward them? So, Scott, you want to take the lead on this one?
Gotcha, for sure. Natasha, I've lived in a yoga studio for the last 2.5 years, and my whole ikigai, my purpose for being, is to serve God, my understanding, help others, and love unconditionally. The third part's difficult, but to me, I go in each day is how can I improve the quality of somebody's life by loving them unconditionally? And I got to love a community of yogis and teachers and friends and that, and no matter what happens, it doesn't matter. People sometimes are cross with me or this. I still am consistent, and that's how I act to them. And it always come back to people will respond and react to me because in a loving way. There's no reason. Joey's been with me on my headset. I walk into stores and I share kindness and goodness and love. And last night I was back at the store and the guy was like, "Yeah, you got a beard now." And he was responding because I'm always grateful and appreciative of everybody, no matter who it is that's in my life or a lesson it's going to learn. And the more I put out to love and care about people, and the same thing that goes into business and marketing, when we apply that, when our dream clients come to us, they're like, no, nice segue, huh? Right into the marketing piece, Joey.
Yeah, exactly.
And when our dream clients come to us, they're like, I hear it with you, Joey, all the time. Joey was real. Joey was authentic. Joey is who he is. Joey's honest and he's not a dickhead. And just that's how people, I'm taking it to the marketing business entrepreneur world now, is how people act to you with loving and kindness and praise and appreciation and vulnerability is because guess what? That's how you treat them. You praise them. You challenge them.
Mhm.
Everything about it is how. So there's my take on it. Now you go.
That was a good take.
Thank you.
Natasha, I can give you an example of this, a real world example. And I'll try to come up with two. But the first one I want to share with you is it's kind of a realization of it, but it relates to this, which is that when I was DJing, um, and I was one of the most popular ones, and DJs, I had both people who liked me and total enemies, people who just hated me. And but I treated those enemies as though they were idiots. Like I would say to myself, and even if I had the chance to say it to them, you have no idea who I am, what you're talking to. So ego was a huge thing for me back then, right? So it was like, don't you know who I am? Don't you know who I think I am? Right. So but I also was paid a lot. I was very popular. So I had the clout, but I disrespected those people. So they treated me with the same kind of disrespect. Okay. And but there's a good part to this part story. It's because I don't I don't really care what people think of me, and to this day I don't. But I'm telling you this story for a reason because back then it's like I don't care what you think about me, and if you don't like me, you're wrong, and you're a goof, and you're an idiot. And so that's how I treated them. When I grew up around 37 or 38, it was like, wait a minute, this is not working for me, right? So now I treat people like Scott said with respect and challenge, even though they may not agree with me or disagree or whatever, but I don't treat them like dirt. It's like that's cool, that's your opinion. Here's my challenge. Here's what I believe, and well, most of them. There's still always going to be some odd person, right? But most people would say, "Okay, that's cool. We're good." Or on a better example of this is now moving into the coaching world that I do now. So now instead of me standing on an ego box and saying, "No, I'm right. Listen to me and do what I tell you to do." It's like, here's what I think. What do you think about this? And lovingly challenge them and respect them for their resistance to do it or to not listen to what I'm saying. Whereas before I would be, No, like you have no idea. You haven't been in business as long as I have. You don't know what I'm talking about. And that's what I mean, if that makes any sense, Natasha.
And Joey, I'm just going to jump onto something kind of a non sequitur, but Friday on the call, based on either last week's show or the week before, the what are your thoughts on? I don't know if it was the 5 words or the this, but I was on with this fella and I was like, so tell me what your thoughts are on your website. Tell me what your thoughts are on your YouTube channel. Rather than going in and saying, you know what, blah, 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 and this, and that, and that. Tell me what your thoughts are on it. Why do you think that your course isn't selling?
Yeah.
Before I went, da, 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 da.
Yeah. And this, I, we've been in this for a long time, and I think that I have a gift that I can see into the future with most people's lives. Like I can see where they need to go. Sometimes it takes them years. I've had multiple occasions of this, and I jokingly say, you hear me say this a lot of times to somebody. You say, don't give me the opportunity to say Joey told me so, because I'll I'll rub it in your face in a good way. Like we make fun of it. But before, it was like, I know what you need to go do, and go do this and go do it now, because I'm impatient and all these other things. So I disrespected or didn't give them their timeline, right? It didn't respect their timeline. And so that's by treating people that way, then maybe they didn't stick around as clients as long as they should have or something before. Now it's a different story. Now it's like I'm still stubborn in a good way, which is a fantastic quality of mine to have, because I won't give up on you. You have to give up on me first. So, but I'll stick longer and lovingly challenge you and stick with you and repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat until you either get it and move on, or you move on to somebody else and our relationship is no longer there. But there's not, it's how I'm treating that person that I've grown into, to respect them, to say they're just not ready for this right now. But I know, and I'll stick to my beliefs, to say this is where I think you need to go. You've been through this personally with me too, Scott. Now, as I'm thinking about this, right?
Interesting, as you're saying that, uh, the realization of just how you show up in all of this, Joey, is the authenticity of it, and you live all of this stuff, and I mean, bring it all to number 6, whatever number 6 is. Go on.
Yeah. All right. So this is okay. Back to the mental liquidity. There's one more here, which is, you become what you think. If you change your thinking, you change your life. You've probably heard this again before, but this is like, this is the end of the laws here, which is whatever you think, you become. And I learned this, is that's why I started off the top of the show with my story with John Assaraf, because that was the point where I bought his first course. It wasn't his first course, but my first course basically was called Having It All. And it was all about this. It was all about just changing your brain to think positively. And it's an active thing that you need to do every single day. And I chose back then to become what I think about, and where I was not happy about. I was not happy about my situation. So I figured, okay, well, if I'm thinking this one way, then what would happen if I think differently? And there you
Cool.
go.
What's
Those are the
the
7
next
laws.
one?
What's that?
What's number 6?
That's the end of them.
That's it. I thought there were 7.
Was there not 7? Did I miscount?
I only got 5. I got
Okay.
the law of belief, law of expectation, law of attraction, law of correspondence, and law of mental equivalency.
Okay, I messed up.
Yes, I
I'm trying to get
missed
better at math. We set all that up? No, I'm kidding.
Talk about a callback.
Are you serious? With her? I mean, one.
Yeah, go back and look at the slides later. 1 was law of belief, 2 is law of expectation, 3 is law of attraction, 4 law of correspondence, and 5 law of mental equivalency. And I wrote down everything underneath them. So,
dude, okay. Wait a minute. Okay, I've got law of control. I've
Where'd
got
that come from?
that was the first one. Okay, laws of control is 1. We got cause and effect. Did I not go through that?
No, you started with law of belief. I'm like, where'd these two come from?
No, did I? No, are you kidding me? Did I not go through
Unless I was asleep at the wheel.
with it? Okay. So sorry. Let me go back. Let me go here. So here's law of control. There are two more. Okay. So law of control. You don't have this one, right?
No, I don't. Unless
All
I
right,
was
cool.
asleep.
They're not
Very
in any
quiet.
specific order, but here's law of control. Okay. You feel positive about yourself. You have control of the way you feel. Yeah, we didn't go through these. My apologies. Uh, you're in control of your life. You have two ways to control in any situation causing stress. So these are the you either feel positive about something, you have all control about how you feel. That's what I think the big takeaway is here. And you take forward action, move forward to change anything about how you feel. So if you I think Brendan Burchard talks a lot about this one. If you, or it was Tony Robbins or something, where if you feel you can't feel sad if you're smiling. You know what I mean? So if you feel sad, just start smiling. And that's what I mean. It's like you have the control to think positively, to act positively, to change your physiology of like you're sad or you're downward or you're tired. Well, get up from your desk and stand up or something. Like it's in your control. Um and or simply walk away from it. Like I've done this a billion times too. Like whatever, this is not going the way that I want it to go or whatever it is, I'm just going to walk away from this. Then there is the cause and effect. For every cause in your life, there is a specific cause. We know this, but how do we deal with this? So everything happens for a reason, whether or not you know what that reason is. And this is where belief is, or belief comes in. So all the stuff that happens, especially the bad stuff, is or the not so good stuff, the challenging stuff, it's happening for a reason. And I believe that it's part of life tuition. We all have our own life tuition that we have or that we all have to go through. And every single life tuition is different for all of us. So there's no accidents. And it's all about what is designed for you, whether you believe that or not. I would have never been able to pen the last year or even the couple of years before that. It was like, here's the plan of how I'm going to do this. And the universe had a different plan for me. So those are the last two that I forgot. So my math was
Now
good
we
today.
have the 7 laws.
My math
Holy,
worked today.
yay. See that? Your math worked, Joey. You discovered the missing two from the seven. So there was no longer five. There's now seven. And Collie said, Joey, you are without a doubt someone who has embodied and walks his talk, and that path is one of integrity and heartfelt compassion. Scott and you are the only coaches I follow and listen to. Everything else is gone bye bye. I no longer suffer from FOMO. Love you both. Love and soul hugs. Love you too, Colin.
Love you back. Love and soul hugs to you, Collie. Yeah, the law of belief. I thought I had the slides done right or starting in the right position, but at least
You
we,
had them exactly the way. Remember, you didn't number them, Joey. So
yeah, we was
I
just
did.
going through them and changing the way that they were being delivered. But thanks, John. Glad you liked it. So those are your laws of belief, and we had a really great discussion today. As always, we always have great discussions. Started out with the fears and all these other things that wrapped around into the laws of the success laws. And I think we'll be talking a little bit about this over the next couple of weeks because I'm so focused in on this to not only talk about it here, but within our group, within Atlas is starting next week. Now, I'm sure I'll be talking about that. And in the academy, every single week, we talk about, how fear-based stuff to move forward. This is the time to do it. This is the time to start rewiring your mindset. This is for you, Scott. Nice to meet you, Scott. Joey, it was super easy for me to recognize how authentic you are. Oh, thank you, John. And started following you immediately. That's amazing. John, where did we meet? I'd love to know. Where we first connected online. That'd be great.
Thank you, John. That's very kind. It's a pleasure to have you with us. Episode 153. It's just incredible what we've been talking about. And Natasha said, this is just what I needed to hear today. Thank you, Joey and Scott. And Joey, I really want to encourage you maybe to put this in the group tonight or tomorrow, these 7 success laws, because we went through them and then we chatted about them. But looking at some of them and the realization that I look at them, uh, you might say, yeah, I know that. Yeah, I know that.
Yeah.
But then you look at it and say, like, the way people respond and act to you, we talked about that. You can tell what's going on inside you by looking at what's going on around you, and your outer world is a reflection. As you know, I just made a huge transition and change. And what was going on around me with all the different people and personalities that I was engaged in all the time had an effect on what was going on in me, even though it was a subconscious thing. Then reading that, there's so much in here to, you know, everything you have, you created. And I created what I created because I wanted to, but now it was time to uncreate it and go create something else. So just looking at these as you talked about them, I think is really powerful. I'd love to see them in the group or somewhere.
Yeah, I will do that. Thank you for that. I mean, that's why I wanted to revisit these things because, this is where I lived for a few years of my first coaching business or life. And because I was going through it, I love teaching things that I actually do. And I was going through, I still do a lot of this stuff, I mean, no mindset. But as I was learning all of these things and realizing where I could grow, and I just am that type of a coach or teacher, if you want to call it that. Whereas I learn something, I go and implement it, and then I go and want to teach it to somebody else immediately and just share it with the world. So
Joey, this needs to be in something.
yeah,
This needs to be part. This is whether it's part of Atlas or whether it's part of whatever. I'm not saying where it belongs. It's just in
thank you.
the overall of what you do and what we've done and what we play with. When something, it's like, she got chain of belief. You got the dream client, kind of dream client statement, victory path, and message navigator. The foundational things that are really important to growing your business and being successful and living a dream life. This is a huge piece that could be a standalone something. I just wanted to. That's how
Yeah,
I'm
thank you.
feeling it, seeing it, sensing it. That it's. I think that everybody in the tribe should be exposed to this in some way.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm glad that it resonated for you as well, and hopefully for you watching. If you're watching us live, hashtag live, let us know, or hashtag replay. And if you liked anything here, give us a thumbs up or a heart or something like that, and let us know. That would be great. We thank you for being here on Tuesdays. We are here at 7 o'clock every Tuesday, and talk about just stuff that help you grow your business, or in this case, in today's topic is realizing, maybe looking inwards, that maybe there are some things that you could help yourself to change your outer world, to change the trajectory of where your business goes this year. And we're here to help you. I dropped the Facebook group in there if you'd like to join us, if you're not already in there. John, I thank you for being a Kajabi member and joining me from Kajabi. I love them, as you know. And I don't know if you've been on one of the Dream Client workshops. If you haven't, but John, let us just come to one of those. That's really cool too. Megan is such an epic person. I co-host with her every Friday, every Friday, first Friday of the month, except for this one. We're taking this Friday off, and then we resume February 3rd. Just a plug for Kajabi and all the crew over there.
Joey, that was just splendid mathematics that you just performed there live on air.
My math is getting better.
It
We will
was
see you.
splendid.
Thank you, Scott. Any parting words?
No, it was just, I think I said what I said. And you started out with, we're going to talk about mindset mastery. And this is a crucial piece, the 7 laws of success that you shared with us, and brilliant as always. And I'm excited to see what we do next.
Thank you, my friend. We'll see you next Tuesday.